Okay. So yeah, we're back at the barber shop once again with student in the ministry, brother Zabion. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
What's going on, brother?
I'm fine, sir. How about yourself?
I'm fine. Praise be to Allah.
Family and everybody
Yeah,
good?
the family is good. Alhamdulillah.
Praise be to Allah. Yes,
Yeah.
sir. Alhamdulillah.
We thank Allah for the energy to do the mission, to do the work.
Yes, sir. That's right.
That's right.
Absolutely.
So
It ain't us, is it?
no, that's not. That's not.
Mm-hmm. We gonna stay on script this time, too,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely, absolutely.
Even when we go off, it's right, because Allah He's in charge of all of it.
Yeah, surely He's the best knower.
That's right.
So we wanted to talk a little bit today about white supremacy.
Yes, sir.
And that there's so many different ways we can delve into it. I guess I'll start with this. It seems like all of the institutions, whether you're talking about the educational system, or you're talking about the religious system, or you're talking about the financial system, even housing system, white supremacy seems to have its influences in everything. So could you speak to that, and could you speak to how that has happened historically and then has continued even through to today?
Yeah, that's a great question. And you have to go into all of that, you know. And a lot of times when I hear people talk about white supremacy, unfortunately, they always deal with here and now. And one thing about the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad that we always have to live is the fact that his teachings goes to the root of the problem.
Okay.
Or the root of the existence of all things. The root of the nature in which people have, whether it be upright or lower nature. He was definitely and is definitely the Christ of Allah God, because all wisdom and knowledge has been given to him. So even when you hear the conscious community speaking, you always hear parts of what Elijah Muhammad taught, pieces of his teaching, some kind of way, and they'll take it and go further with it. But of course, if you're not submitting yourself to do the will of Allah, which is to follow the messenger, to follow the Christ, which way really are you going? How far are you going? Are you going in the right direction or the wrong direction? So, inshallah, we're going to go into the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and delve into that and go further in that, you know, because that's going in the right direction, because all life, of course, comes from Allah through his Christ. You know, Elijah Muhammad, now taught by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. So to answer the question, we have to go back to the beginning of white supremacy, the mind of white supremacy, where it came from, you know, and then bring it up. It's not going to be long. I like to answer the questions as quick as possible, because I always love the way your questions, you know, we kind of flow with it. But when you go back to white supremacy, it's the best thing to do is to go back to the origin of the white man, which the Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that the white man is the devil and his nature is wickedness. So we have to go back to where that wickedness came from, where that nature came from. When you trace it all the way back, you trace it back to a black man named Yaqub. So in ignorance, a lot of us may go as far as saying, if the black man is where the mindset of this devil came from, then we can say that the devil is the black man, or Satan is the black man. Since he's the father of the devil, Satan is the father of the devil, but the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, don't say it that way. And don't explain it that way, or even teach it that way, because that's really not what it is. If you're looking at billions and billions of people that's been on the earth for trillions of years, and out of those billions and billions of people, one of them slips and falls. And one of them, like it says in Ezekiel 28, allows his own intelligence and wisdom to corrupt him and to make him conceited enough to think that he knows better than the one who made him, which is the originator of the heavens and the earth, Allah himself, who taught the first of us. And out of that group of people, of those original people, this man felt that he can make a man better than God, which the Bible is talking about in the first chapter, where it says, let us make man in our image and after our likeness. Here's a man that's being made that in Genesis 6, it says that God basically said that it hurt him to his heart that he even made man. I believe that comes in around the 3rd verse or the 4th verse, but it's in Genesis 6, where it says it hurt God to his heart that he even made man. Now, we know the originator of the heavens and the earth doesn't have any regrets. He doesn't make a man and then regret the man that he made. He doesn't make the sun, moon, and stars and then regret his own creation. Because all things work for the good, with the originator. But this one, since he was not the Almighty, the originator of the heavens and the earth, 6,000 years ago, this man, Jacob or Yaqub, made a group of people that he felt bad that he made because of how corrupt their nature was, because he made them in corruption, he made them in arrogance, and he made them in haste, he made them in disappointment, So that was literally the birth of white supremacy, because he made a people to rule over God's people, as it says in Genesis 27. We talked about it before. I'm sorry, Genesis 25. 2 nations are in thy womb, a older and a younger, a weaker and a stronger, and the older would serve the younger. So Allah permitted this man to exercise his will based on our disobedience to Allah. So when Allah said, stay away from the tree with the knowledge that bears the knowledge of good and evil, here's a man who knew a little bit more than the rest of us, and because he was so wise, he let his own wisdom corrupt him. He let his own beauty corrupt him. So he was allowed to make another human being who was a physical manifestation of the weakness of us. So he makes the European race, who is literally the physical expression of every weakness that we have. The weakness of skin, the weakness of the eye color, the weakness of hair, the weakness of spirit and soul, the weakness of obedience to the will of God, the weakness of compassion, the weakness of having a conscience that would not allow you to do certain things. He made a man that was able to do every wicked thing that a human being can ever imagine. And it came from what the Bible would call the fallen angel, old Lucifer, son of the morning. I believe that's in Isaiah 14, where he was brought down, and we would narrowly look upon him and say, is this the man who made the earth tremble? Well, that's the man that gave birth to white supremacy, and that's the man whose mind and spirit is inside these new Caucasian people today that run the world. Okay.
So, I want to first ask this. So, is there? You talked about the devil and the wickedness. So, is there a difference between the wickedness of under white supremacy, wickedness of white people, versus the wickedness of black people?
Now, I didn't open up, but I always like to give all praise to Allah himself, the originator of the heavens and the earth, who came to us in the person of Master Prophet Muhammad. And I like to give thanks and bear witness to his Christ, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and also our reminder, the man who gave us life today, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. It's in their names that I like to open up and extend the greeting words of peace, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
And also not just giving the greetings of peace, but giving the total acknowledgement to them for answering these questions. This particular topic right here, if you leave those men out, you're really a hypocrite, because nobody figured this out but God himself. This is revelation from above, so we always have to make sure we acknowledge and in their name answer these questions. So I'm going to ask for Allah to answer these questions. You just asked the question, what is the difference between the white man and the black man and the evil that they do and the evil that we do?
Right.
Well, you have one man who is teaching and shaping another man. See, this man, after Yaqub made him, made a world that we're all born into a sinful world, and as a result of being born into a world that's sinful, that sinful world shaped us into what it is. You know what I mean? Whether it be gay, whether it be a murderer, whether it be a thief, all of these crimes and all of this that is plaguing our earth today is brought into existence through these people, or kept into existence through these people that were made by the fallen man, the one man who Yaqub or Satan is, that one man. So the difference between the two sins is you have a leader in sin and then you have a follower in sin. You have one who is literally made to do wrong, and then you have another that's made to do righteous, but if he's shaped in iniquity or wickedness, he'll do evil just like the man who shaped him, but he'll still have that conscience. He still won't be able to out-wicked the wicked one. And that's why he's a growing devil or a growing Satan. Whereas though the white man today, being the expression of the one who made him, is literally the father of the devil, so he is Satan. So when he does what he does, he does it without struggle at all. He's made to do what he does. So we're trying to catch up to his evil, the ones who ignorantly don't realize who he is. And we follow him rather than follow Allah. So when you're following this beast of a man, or this beast of a people who give themselves over to the mind of Yaqub, who the Bible calls Jacob, you're going to catch up to his evil, or you are trying to catch up to his evil. Eventually, I don't believe Allah will allow us to catch up to it, and that's why we're living in the end right now. Our ministry is called the Final Call Ministry, the Final Call to Islam. The minister said when he came up with that idea to put on the paper, which of course it was already here when Master Prophet Muhammad was here, the Final Call to Islam, when it changed from Muhammad Speaks to the Final Call to Islam, the minister said this, when he came up with that title, it was showing us that that title means that this is not going to be a long ministry. So if we're in existence for 86 years or 89 years or 100 years, that's not a long time when you compare it to how long we've been being shaped in iniquity for 6,000 years. But this is what I was getting to. There's still certain crimes that this European does or has already done that we haven't done. Two of them that show the difference between the natures is this. The one, the original people are not guilty of killing a whole race of people. No race on earth has that kind of track record except the European race. They are literally responsible of killing the Aztec. That's a race or a tribe in the Indian community. Millions of millions of Indians were killed. All in the Congo. Millions of Africans killed. The Tasmanian people, a whole race, gone because of the evil and the murderous nature of that race that nobody talks about. Because we all look at it like we're the same. But I'm trying to share with you right now, by the grace of Allah and by his permission, that we are very, very different. So the Aboriginal people in Australia were almost killed outright and completely. You have the Mayans, you have the Aztec, you almost have the so-called American Negro, that they could have killed us if We were not the tribe of Shabazz. More teachings from the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Tribe of Shabazz meaning indestructible.
Mm-hmm.
Where we cannot be killed because of what happened with Shabazz 50,000 years ago. So all of this rebellion, of course, was present. Signs of rebellion was present. But as by one man, sin, I believe that's 1 Corinthians chapter 15. As by one man, sin entered into the world, and death followed sin. So that same sin that you see is in Genesis chapter 3.
Mm-hmm.
When you're dealing with Adam and Eve disobeying God, and then that type of death kicking in.
Mm-hmm.
The reason I say that type of death is because they didn't physically die. The disobedience that came by that one man is the type of sin that brought the type of death that we live in every day on this earth.
By that one man, you're referring to
Jacob, Jacob.
Okay, and
because he's the one
mm-hmm.
that caused Adam and Eve, God's people, to disobey Allah.
Okay. Now, how do we see the work?
I want to give one more.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, but I want to give one more point,
Mm-hmm.
or one more sin that we haven't done yet,
Mm-hmm.
and that's tamper with the Word of God.
Okay.
We're not responsible for making up a Bible, other than Yaqub himself not really changing the message, but corrupting the message.
Mm-hmm.
He put his mindset in these people. And
Okay.
these people do the same thing with all of those Bibles that you're looking at right now. The King James Version,
Yeah, I see.
the MacArthur's
Mhm.
version, William Tinsdale's version,
Mm-hmm.
Jesus Seminar's version. You have the Schofield version, or the which is another version of King James with his notes
Mm-hmm.
is in there. And you have scriptures that are literally taken out of the Bible with these people.
Mhm.
You even have the version of the Watchtower,
Mm-hmm.
which they say this is a pure translation, and I don't want to jump on them because this is about white supremacy, but inside their Bible, they have whole scriptures taken out that should not be taken out. Scriptures that refer to us like Matthew 17, verse 21, where Jesus is actually saying, if you had a red print Bible, he's saying certain demons can only be cast out through prayer and fasting.
Mm-hmm.
And prayer and fasting are two pillars of Islam. So why would you take that out and then say that it's in the book of Mark or in the book of Luke when we know Mark and Luke weren't even there? So how did it end up in their gospel and not be in Matthew's gospel, who was an actual disciple of Christ?
Mm-hmm.
So it would either be in Matthew's gospel or John's gospel. So this is called tampering, because they're trying to hide what will make you a god. Prayer and fasting. And that's just an example of what they do and the evil that they do.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't have any black people that have a version that's taking things out.
Mm-hmm.
The closest thing that we have is the brother who came up with the African Heritage Study Bible, and it's a King James Version. He didn't change one word.
Mm-hmm.
All the brother's doing is showing that all of these things took place
Mm-hmm.
in the area of the indigenous people.
So let me ask this: is there a difference between the mindset of Satan or Jacob or Yaqub and the mindset of white supremacy?
Yes.
Okay. How would you?
Because Jacob, even though he was a fallen angel, he still was an angel of God.
Mm-hmm.
Even though he is the one man who brought sin into the earth,
Mm-hmm.
he still was a part of the original people.
Mm-hmm.
So he still had the nature of the original people, but he turned his own self corrupt by not focusing on the originator.
Mm-hmm.
And he started focusing on himself, which shows that any one of us can turn hypocrite overnight.
Mm-hmm.
Because here's an original man that ended up committing the worst crime ever,
Mm-hmm.
and that's to go against Allah.
Okay.
And start looking at your own self as the one who is supreme.
Mm-hmm.
So the difference between the two, Jacob or Yakub and the people that he made, is they were literally made by him and us. Or not us, but the ones who followed him. It was 59,999 of his dissatisfied followers that went with him on the island of Patmos, or Pelan, south of Greece in the Aegean Sea.
Okay.
Those people that went with him were the people who were made with murder, lies, right? And tricknology. So we are taught by the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad through the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan that environment shapes heredity. So under the environment that they were in, they gave birth to a whole new heritage and a whole new nature, where he may have thought, like it says in Genesis 6, that it hurt him to his heart that he even made man because of the evil that these people were capable of going down to. But once they get down and dirty, it doesn't affect them at all. We were talking earlier about how certain people, can do different things and don't even feel any shame. I was talking about this Caucasian woman when I was studying about Jacob or Yakub, because at that time I felt like, wow, I can't really believe that a man would make a man. And not only a man, but a devil would take over the world. So I'm the kind of person that I have to study before I say I believe. So when I had internet in the early 90s, I said I'm going to use internet to try to prove this wrong. And in trying to prove it wrong, I became a firm believer because I learned different things about the Caucasian that the average person just doesn't know because they never really put in the work to actually study. So when the Honorable Elijah Muhammad calls these actual facts, it is an actual fact that you can get a recessive out of a dominant. It is an actual fact that a recessive cannot produce a dominant, but a dominant can produce a recessive, meaning a weaker person from a stronger person. See, these are actual facts. It's an actual fact that the caveman went savage in the cave and started messing around with the animals. And it's a blood type that they call RH negative. You have RH positive, and it's dealing with the rhesus monkey, because this is when they would even not only bite bark, they were eating the bark off trees, and they would have sex with animals. They would have sex with dead people when they were in the cave. And they became like Sasquatch or Bigfoot. The cave people ended up becoming hairy from head to toe, like an animal, because having that type of lifestyle produced animal people that we would call cave people. Or today, if you see a person that's covered from head to toe, this is a person that's suffering from what the doctors would call congenital hypertrichosis. So I studied all of these things and trying to prove it wrong and becoming a firm believer, because that was the one and only thing I had a problem with. And that's why it's so good to study, because when you study, it keeps you from being a hypocrite. So when I say I believe that Jacob or Yakub made the white man, I really believe that. I'm not just saying it because it's the teachings. I actually studied these things. You know what I mean? So the nature that these people have, because of their experiences that they had in the cave and the experience on the island of Patmos, kill off the darker, save the lighter, message to the black man, page 100. You know, and with this topic, we might even have to go a little further because it's very, very lengthy.
Right.
But very necessary, especially now, for us to be clear on these things. And that's why I'm giving you these references to go to. Gregor Mendel, Mendel's law, the two dominants that can produce a recessive. Where's the, and Dr. Leakey, Cradle of Civilization talk about the black man, even though he tried to make it look like we were looking like they were looking.
Right.
When they show you how Lucy would look, they make her look like a little monkey woman or something instead of making us look like the gods that we really are. But out of the gods came this lesser god. And this lesser god is the white man who does what he does. He can fly faster than the speed of sound. He can put a satellite in space. That is a god, but he's a lesser god because he can't go past the moon. I don't believe he can land on the moon and walk on the moon. I believe, like I think Seth Curry was talking about that was a hoax. But I believe that we put strongholds in the heavens that would only allow this Caucasian to take a peep into the heavens. He could send a drone, but he can't go there himself. That is only open for the true gods, the almighty gods, which is the black man and woman. See, we are not the lesser God, we are the real gods. So the difference between Jacob and the people that he made, or Yaqub and the people that he made, is nature. Through going that process that they went through, that process of killing off the darker and sparing the lighter, that grafting process. A grafted man, like our lessons say, anything grafted from the original is devil. So that makes them go further than Yaqub could ever go. And that's the reason they can do different things without any shame, without any conscience. They can have 400 years slavery and chattel slavery, and then torture a man to death and feel good about it because he's already made to kill off the darker and spare the lighter, until you break the black man all the way down to the lowest stage, which would be white. See, that kind of mindset made it easy for them to enjoy the murder of black men, women, and children. They call it sadistic. That's to get pleasure from torturing another person. See, this is the mentality and nature of a beast, and that's why the Bible, the Holy Bible, in the book of Revelation calls them beasts. And Jesus uses animals to describe their characteristics, serpents and goats, which the goat has horns and he has a rebellious, tricky nature, unlike a sheep that just has a peaceful nature. That would be us. Or weeds that suck the life out of people. You know what I mean? That would be them. But with us, we just want some sunlight.
Right.
We just want some water, some food, all of the things that natural creatures require. That's the difference.
Okay.
Sorry I took so long, but this is not a lightweight topic.
Oh, absolutely. It's okay, brother. But did you have any final, I mean, because I think this is a topic we'll have to do a part 2 and probably a part 3 on.
We always say part 2, but we very rarely do it. Now, I'm going to hold you to this one. We have to do a part 2.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Did you have any thoughts you wanted to close out with?
Yes, sir. Allah keeps a final thought in my head.
Absolutely.
And the final thought is just, and I need you to take that camera, and I need you to focus it on what Allah inspired me to put together with one of the brothers. I'm going to turn the light. I think you can see that. I want us to study these men. I want us to give the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad that was taught to him by Almighty God Allah himself through Master Farad Muhammad, or for Almighty God Allah himself, who came to us in the person of Master Farad Muhammad, teaching his Christ figure, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I want all people, black and white, to study the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, because inside those teachings is not only absolution, not only answers, but also salvation for humanity and the end of white supremacy once we thoroughly understand where it came from.
Wow. That's happy, brother. We thank you for your time, my brother.
I always thank you for your time too, as well.
Praise be to Allah.
Yes, sir.
We'll see you on the next time. Assalamu alaikum.
Inshallah.
Inshallah.